Well, for more on this, joining me now is Chris Doyle, Director of the Council for Arab-British Understanding, a not-for-profit organisation that promotes conflict resolution and human rights policy. Thanks very much for coming on to Good Morning Europe. Now, even a ceasefire wouldn't solve the underlying issues, which we'll come to, but do you think there is the political will on either side for this violence to stop?
Well, it's very, very unclear. I think, as your report indicated, Israel is going to continue its bombardment of the Gaza Strip. I don't see Hamas going away from this, but we do know that at some point, and probably this week, there will be some understandings between the two, perhaps brokered by Egypt. That's normally the case. The rockets and the missiles will go silent, but it won't be it'll be calm for Israelis. It won't be calm for Palestinians. It'll be peace for Israelis, but not for Palestinians. And that is the fundamental flaw in the way that the international community goes about this. I remind you that we've seen this so many times before. We had similar wars in 2006, 8, 9, 12, 14, and each and every time the international community's attention just goes away really within days after some form of ceasefire. And the reason we get back there is that we just never get to the stage where we realize that actually calm for Palestinians means the end of the blockade of the Gaza Strip. It means that the 2 million civilians that live there, are able to travel, to carry out economic activity normally, that they will have some sort of hope and horizon. It means the end of the occupation in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, where people are not waiting for a bulldozer that may arrive at their home at any point, where they don't go through checkpoints every single day of their lives, that they are not hemmed in by military law in every aspect of the way they live. Now, that is what we really need to understand as peace. We hear a lot of vague blandishments right now from the international community: peace, calm, de-escalation, but it's a very one-sided call.
Well, if the international community can't get to grip with the underlying causes, they can't even agree a statement on stopping the violence. What do you make of that, and the stance of the Biden administration?
The Biden administration has been acutely disappointing. I mean, we've seen it time and time again in the way that Russia acts as a shield for the Syrian regime. The US acts as a shield for Israel, and the US is isolated internationally on this. Have a look at the statements from President Biden. They're astonishing in the way that they do not refer at any point to Palestinian rights, Palestinian freedom, anything like that. We hear a lot of talk in the international community about Israel's right to self-defense. Never on any occasion, I go back in history here, has there been any utterance of the Palestinian right to self-defense, and they are the people who are occupied. Israel is the occupier. It's the asymmetry of this is extraordinary. It's not a war on Hamas, because the nature of the bombing that is going on quite clearly now in Gaza, from all the reports, the images, is on the population of Gaza. And we say that again because we saw this all before, and it is so painfully similar to what went on before. And
just briefly, yes. You mentioned the international community, the US. What about regional powers in the Middle East? Could they do more? Briefly, if you can.
They could certainly do more. What we're seeing actually is a lot of the regimes, like Egypt, for example, who have actually been stopping protests against their own people in support of Palestinian rights, to crack down on that. I think that they could make a very serious effort to unite around a proper plan to bring peace and true and genuine calm to Israel and Palestine. They are not. They're very much to the sidelines.
Chris Doyle from the Council for Arab-British Understanding, thanks very much for joining us on Good Morning Europe.